For Volume 4 and 5, we got 4 new character shorts that are similar to how the color trailers were done. Each one is focused on one of the 4 main girls, although these shorts were split between both volumes. The Ruby short was before Volume 4, and the Weiss, Blake, and Yang shorts were for Volume 5. The Ruby character short starts out in pretty much the same way as the Red trailer. Ruby with her hood on, looking mysterious, walks as music plays to an area where she fights monsters. The big differences between the two being, 1. Instead of the battle taking place in a completely open area, the short takes place in a town currently under a grim attack. This makes the setting more interesting for both the story and action of the short, and creates a better understanding as to why Ruby is there. Number 2, there is basically a boss fight for the final half of the short. One thing about the Red trailer, from what I understand, is that at the time, Ruby hadn't been fully fleshed out as a character. Same goes for the way she fights. It was just Monty doing what he does best. Meaning, the Red trailer can be taken just as a way to show off the kind of action the series will contain. Luckily, more character got put into the other color trailers. The action for the short is actually good, but has some of that snappy animation that I described in my animation editing video for Volume 4 that kinda bugged me. I also noticed that this short has similar animated directed bits that are from the Tyrion vs. Crow fight for Volume 4. I don't know whether to consider this as a lazy or okay thing to do. This short also changes up Ruby's power of speed by having her transform into a red orb and fly around. I started calling this ability Red Bullet. Before, it would be described as Ruby's cape wrapping around her for a nice aerodynamic spin through the air. In Volumes 2 and 3, she would need to use her semblance to pick up speed and then start spinning. Now, her cape just wraps around her without the need to build up speed. Then, there's this. I already talked about this. One potential reason I got for how Ruby would be able to do this is after images. I don't see that as the case, so take that as you will. Lastly, for their big money shot at the end, they messed it up. The crewbie shouldn't have unwrapped the cape while Ruby was in the air. They should have kept it wrapped around Ruby, have her slam against the Grim while she is still in that state, and then have the cape unravel into that cool shot. That would have been a lot better than her landing the strike and the cape stretches around for what seems like no reason. The thing about the character short, just like the Red trailer, is that the events of it didn't matter to the preceding volume. It mattered so little that the short wasn't even included in the Blu-ray and DVD for Volume 4, unlike the Red trailer. The Weiss character short is actually pretty much the exact same thing as the White trailer, in terms of story structure. If you've seen, read, or heard some things about the Ruby manga, you might have already known that the White trailer is a test set up by Weiss's dad. In the short, Weiss is being tested by another family member, this time by her older sister. When it comes to the action, I think the White trailer is better, but I can easily think of a story reason for that. Weiss in the short hadn't gotten good yet. Weiss in the White trailer was when she had already got good. Although, the effects for the short look really good, but the way Weiss starts utilizing the fire dust on her weapon makes it look like her hand is applying the fire, not the dust inside her weapon. One thing that I didn't like about the Weiss short is the sound design. The sound effects for the action is very quiet. The White trailer had a similar design, but due to an echo effect being included in the action, the sound design fit the environment of the trailer. I don't see a reason why the sounds of the action would be so muted other than to have the music take center stage. This short wound up being really boring for me, and I think this is due to the action and sound design. I did at least get something out of it. You can read what I wrote on Tumblr by using the link in the description. I'm going to skip the Blake short for now, because it's getting its own video. So then, that brings me to the Yang short, which has some mixed quality. This is only due to the action. The action doesn't get bad, but Yang's projectiles curve. Why? Why did they curve like that? The only explanation that can work for this is dust, but this takes place before Volume 1. In Volumes 1 through 3, Yang's shots always went in a straight line. Also, curving the projectiles was totally possible in Poser. So, the change to Maya shouldn't be the reason for this either. Remember how I said that for Volumes 2 and 3, Ruby needed to build up speed and then wrap herself in her cape to spin through the air? What Ruby does here is pretty much the exact same way her power works since the Ruby character short. There's also the moment when Yang rushes to save Ruby from the Grimm. What happens here doesn't make much sense. When Yang rushes, the Grimm puts its face below the camera and suddenly, Yang is in its mouth and she is upside down from the way I would have expected her to be, since she would have been facing the Grimm when she charged. It seems like her aura breaks due to the aura flash that we have seen throughout the series since Volume 3, yet Yang can still use her semblance. This is shortly after a Q&A on Tumblr that the Kyrubi held where it was said that the characters wouldn't be able to use their semblance if they ran out of aura. The thing about their response is that they called it a general rule of thumb. With that comes the implication that there are some semblances in this world that don't fully rely on aura to be used, and Yang's might be one of them as shown by this character short. Or it could just be that her aura took damage, but it's pretty unclear. The thing that I like about the Yang short is how it reinforces Yang's protective side. The promise she made about always being there for Ruby when she needs help, and how we have seen that throughout the years. I may have been more critical on the action for this short, but the action is good. The main exchange between Yang and the Ursa Major is really well animated. There were just a fair amount of elements that were confusing or seemed contradictory. So that's the RWY shorts covered. As I said, I'll be making a video dedicated to the Blake character short next, so in regards to the shorts I talked about in this video, what did you think of them? And what I said about them? Did you enjoy the action they put on display? Was there anything about them you found off or could have been done better? Head to the comments below and let me know what you think.